Hi, Shannon. So good to see your face this afternoon.
Good to see yours too. So, for anyone who is watching this, my name is Shannon Young. I am a principal and counselor in the Wausau School District in central Wisconsin. And this is my friend Heidi. Heidi, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Heidi. I live in the DC Everett School District, which is really near Wausau. We homeschool our kids. We have a couple of them that are involved in the district, and we've done a couple different options, virtual school and charter school and hybrid between homeschool. We have 7 children. The oldest is a junior and the youngest is a 1-year-old.
So throughout the years of our friendship, there have been plenty of times, Heidi, that you and I have talked about education. I work in a small charter school. Students range in age from grades 6 or 12. And I know there's been a lot of times where you and I have had conversations about just about education of kids in general. And a lot of times where we've ended up talking about some of the similarities and maybe giving each other some hints and tips on different things. It just always really great conversations about it. So as we were all just thrown into this new world, beginning on Monday here in central Wisconsin, I thought that it would be a really good idea for us to connect and maybe I could ask you some questions and gain from your experience to help the many, many families who have just been thrown into essentially homeschooling their kids with the help of their public school district. But, we've all just really been thrown into a whole new arrangement. And I know it's one that you've lived for a long time. So I felt like your experience would be really, really valuable for the rest of us who are learning how to navigate this.
Well, thanks, Shannon. I always enjoy talking with you, and you always teach me something. I just appreciate your perspective. And yeah, it's funny as you're talking, this has been our life. Some days feel as chaotic as the last 3, but hopefully not every day is so chaotic. So yes, if there's anything that I have learned or experienced that would be helpful, I'm happy to share. So you just go ahead and ask away.
Well, so as we just said, so many families have just been thrown into monitoring their kids' schoolwork from home. And as that homeschool mom of 7, one who's utilized the public school system, who's done some hybrids of both, and also run a business from home and really juggled all kinds of different working and schooling arrangements. What's your advice? What's your biggest piece of advice for some of these families?
Oh, well, I would say first of all, on an emotional level, just give yourself lots of grace. We're all making it up as we go along right now. This would have been a huge transition if your kids came home out of necessity without all the other, pieces that are at play. So give yourself lots of grace. I think when you're trying to move forward and you're trying to just get through it, the first thing that you want to do is move toward a new normal, so that's kind of like a new routine. What does it mean to be home right now? What does it mean to be working from home? And those, you're probably already starting to see a little bit of a pattern, maybe some things you like and some things you don't. So I guess I just encourage you to decide a few things. Decide when is the best time to do the academic work. When are your kids most with it? When are they most available? When are you most available? If you have a work from home option and you need to be dialing in on calls, you don't want to, try to do your kids' school during that time. And that's okay. Like, this is part of the flexibility and the freedom that comes with all that responsibility. But think of your day and just decide what are your expectations for when your kids get dressed? Do they need to get dressed? Do they need to brush their teeth? What days are pajama days?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have had a joke among all of the school staff that pretty much, we're okay with every day being pajama day, but I'm sure that will wear out over time a little bit as well. So okay. Do you have any specific chunks that you break the day down into? Is there anything that really has worked well for you?
Yeah, actually, so I'm not a big fan. I mean, personally, I was a Franklin planner girl, when I had my own work life and, very few variables that would just upset the apple cart. Right now, in this stage of family life, it's so frustrating if I say stuff's going to happen at 8:30 and then it doesn't happen at 8:30 and 9. So we're trying to move toward rhythms, not schedules. So we kind of have first we do this, then we do that, then we do that. And that sort of releases everybody from this time clock burden, but it provides some structure. So we kind of have 4 chunks of the day. There's like the early morning, you know, the 6 to 10. I know 10's not early morning, but you know, the early morning chunk, and then like 10 to 1, kind of mid-morning into lunchtime, and then 1 until 4 afternoon before, you know, evening activities. And well, we won't have to worry about activities, but but yeah, those 4 chunks. So if you think about your day and you're trying to plug in work, and you're trying to plug in some self-care, and you're trying to plug in some downtime for your kids and some academic time for your kids, think about the day in those 4 chunks, and then just decide what you want to have happen in each of those chunks. And then that's just your baseline day, your baseline flow.
Mm-hmm.
Just experiment, try it out and experiment.
And kind of see what's going to work within each family, I would guess, based on some of those other outside pressures as well. Like, how much are you expected to work? You know, some of us have been able to move to working outside the home, or I mean, move from outside the home to in the home.
Right.
And whatever those expectations might be, might